Everyone ignored him. A weak, lost old man wandering the streets, begging for help. Cars passed, people stared, but no one cared. Until a poor black girl on an old, squeaky bicycle stopped and changed both their lives forever. He stood at the edge of a busy street, the evening sun fading behind tall buildings. His white hair was messy, his face pale, and his clothes looked far too simple for the part of town he was in. The old man clutched a worn leather bag to his chest, his hands shaking slightly. "Excuse me," he said softly to a passing woman. "Could you help me find Maplewood Avenue?" But she didn't even glance at him. She just walked faster. He tried again. "Sir, please." A man brushed past him, muttering under his breath, "Get a phone, old man." No one noticed that his shoes were polished, his voice gentle, his eyes sad but intelligent. To everyone else, he was just another homeless stranger, invisible, unwanted. Minutes passed. Then an hour. The crowd kept moving, but he remained there, alone. That's when she appeared. Aaliyah, a 17-year-old black girl on an old bicycle that squeaked with every turn of the wheel. She wore a faded school hoodie and a backpack almost bigger than her. She had just finished her part-time shift at a diner, tired and hungry, her hands still smelling faintly of dish soap. But when she saw the old man standing helplessly by the road, something made her stop. She slowed down, parked her bicycle near the sidewalk, and walked toward him. "Sir, are you okay?" He looked up, startled. "Oh, hello. I'm afraid I got lost. I was trying to find Maplewood Avenue. My driver was supposed to meet me here, but my phone died," and he paused, embarrassed. "I think I've made quite a mess." Aaliyah smiled kindly. "Don't worry, sir. Maplewood's not too far. I can take you there." He blinked. "Take me? On what?" She grinned and patted the seat of her rusty bicycle. "This old thing. She might not look fancy, but she's got a good heart, just like me." He chuckled for the first time that evening. "Oh no, young lady, I couldn't ask you to do that." But Aaliyah shook her head. "You're not asking, sir. I'm offering. The world's full of people who walk away. I'm just not one of them." Something in her voice, honest, brave, made him trust her. He hesitated only a moment before nodding. "All right, dear. If you insist." Aaliyah smiled and helped him climb onto the back of her bicycle. The frame creaked, the chain rattled, but she pushed forward, her legs strong and determined. People stared. Some laughed. "Look at that," a man shouted. "Uber on wheels." But Aaliyah didn't care. The city lights shimmered as they rode. The wind brushed against their faces. The old man sat quietly, holding his small bag, his heart strangely moved by this stranger's kindness. After a while, he spoke. "Do you live nearby?" "Yes, sir. A few blocks from downtown. I work after school to help my mom. She's sick." The old man's eyes softened. "That's very noble of you." Aaliyah shrugged, still pedaling. "You do what you have to do, right? Life doesn't wait for you to be ready." He smiled faintly. "You remind me of someone I used to know." They continued through the streets. Old brick walls turning into tall, clean buildings, cracked pavements giving way to smooth asphalt. The neighborhoods changed, and Aaliyah's eyes widened in awe. "Wow," she whispered. "I've never seen houses like these." He pointed ahead. "That's Maplewood. My home's just up there." When she stopped, she couldn't believe what she saw. A massive white mansion behind iron gates, shining like a castle under the streetlights. Two security guards rushed forward. "Mr. Harrison." "Sir, where have you been?" "We've been searching for hours." Aaliyah turned sharply toward the old man. "Mr. Harrison?" He nodded with a tired smile. "That's me." The guards tried to escort him in, but he raised his hand. "Wait. This young lady helped me. She brought me home." They looked at Aaliyah, confused. A poor girl on a rusty bicycle, her hair slightly messy, clothes wrinkled from a long day's work. But the old man's voice carried authority. "She's my guest," he said firmly. Aaliyah blushed. "Oh, sir, it's nothing. I'm just glad you're safe." Mr. Harrison studied her closely, her kind eyes, her tired smile. "Please, at least come in for some dinner. It's the least I can do." She shook her head. "Thank you, but my mom's waiting. She worries if I'm late." He nodded, understanding. "Then allow my driver to take you home." She smiled softly. "It's okay, sir. I've got my bicycle, my best friend." For a moment, they just looked at each other, two people from completely different worlds, connected by one act of kindness. "You have a good heart," he said finally. "Don't ever lose that." Aaliyah grinned. "I won't." Take care, Mr. Harrison. And with that, she turned her bicycle and rode away into the night. Mr. Harrison watched her until she disappeared down the road. His assistant came running from inside. Sir, should I call your son? He's been worried sick. But the old man didn't answer. He was still staring down the empty street where the girl had gone. No, he said finally, his voice calm but filled with thought. First, I want to know who that girl is. The assistant nodded and hurried away. As the night deepened, the old billionaire stood alone by the gate, his heart strangely alive again. For years, he had lived surrounded by wealth. But tonight, a poor girl on a broken bicycle had reminded him of something far more valuable, humanity. And though Aaliyah didn't know it yet, that simple act of kindness was about to change her life forever. The next morning, sunlight spilled through the tall glass windows of the Harrison mansion. Mr. Harrison sat quietly in his study, sipping coffee that had long gone cold. His mind wasn't on the newspaper in front of him. It was on the girl from last night. The poor black girl with tired eyes and a fearless smile. The one who had stopped when no one else did. He couldn't get her out of his head. There was something about her. Her voice, her courage, her kindness. It felt familiar, almost haunting. His assistant, Mark, entered the room. Sir, you asked me to find out about the girl. Mr. Harrison looked up quickly. Yes, did you? Mark nodded, opening a small notebook. Her name is Aaliyah Brown, 17 years old. Lives in a small apartment complex on Eastwood Avenue with her mother. Father passed away a few years ago. Mr. Harrison's brows furrowed. What about her mother? Her name's Clara Brown, Mark continued. She used to work as a nurse, but she fell seriously ill last year, some kind of lung disease. Now she can't work. Aaliyah supports her by working part-time at a diner after school. The neighbors say she's a good girl, polite, hard-working, keeps to herself. Mr. Harrison leaned back in his chair, silent. The name, Clara Brown, hit him harder than expected. Something stirred deep within him, a flicker of a memory buried under years of wealth and loneliness. Clara, he whispered under his breath. Mark looked up. Do you know her, sir? Mr. Harrison didn't answer immediately. He just stared at the city skyline outside. No, he said softly. But maybe I should. Later that day, Mr. Harrison's black car pulled up quietly in front of the worn-down apartment building where Aaliyah lived. The contrast was painful, his luxury sedan shining under the afternoon sun, surrounded by cracked sidewalks and peeling walls. He didn't step out. He just watched. Through the window, he could see Aaliyah come out of the building, balancing a tray of soup in one hand and a bag of groceries in the other. She wore the same faded hoodie, her hair tied back, moving quickly but gently. She looked tired, but her eyes were full of purpose. She stopped to help an old neighbor carry a box of laundry upstairs, smiling as she went. Mr. Harrison felt his throat tighten. He saw the same heart that had once belonged to someone he loved long ago. He turned to Mark. Get her address. I want to send food and medicine to her mother, anonymously. No names, no questions. Mark hesitated. Sir, won't that make her suspicious? Mr. Harrison smiled faintly. Let her think it's a blessing from the sky. That evening, a delivery truck arrived at the Browns' apartment. Boxes filled with food, medicine, and new blankets were placed at their doorstep. The label simply read, For you. From someone who cares. Aaliyah opened the door, startled. What is all this? Her mother, Clara, who was sitting on the couch wrapped in a thin shawl, gasped. Oh my goodness, who could have done this? Aaliyah looked around, puzzled. No name, no note. Maybe someone from the church. Clara smiled weakly. Whoever it is, may God bless them. Aaliyah carried the boxes inside, her heart swelling with gratitude and confusion. She had no idea that the old man she had helped just the night before was watching everything unfold from his car parked across the street. Inside the car, Mr. Harrison's eyes grew wet. Seeing Clara again, even from afar, open wounds he thought had long healed. He whispered softly to himself, Clara, after all these years. Mark looked confused. Sir, you keep saying her name like you know her. Did you? Mr. Harrison took a long breath before answering. A long time ago. I did. Clara used to work at my company, back when I wasn't the man I am now. She was one of the kindest souls I ever met, always putting others before herself. But life wasn't kind to her. He paused, his voice heavy with regret. I made mistakes back then. I was too focused on success, too blind to the people who actually cared. Mark nodded quietly, unsure what to say. The next few days, Mr. Harrison kept sending help, groceries, paid rent, even a small envelope with money. Each time, Aaliyah tried to find out who was behind it, but there was never a name, never a clue. One evening, while she was coming home from work, she noticed the same black car parked near her building again. She slowed her bicycle, suspicious but curious. The car window rolled down slightly, and she saw a familiar face, the old man she had helped. "Mr. Harrison?" she gasped. He smiled gently. "Hello, Aaliyah." She parked her bike quickly and walked over. "What are you doing here?" "I came to see how you and your mother are doing," he said softly. Her eyes widened. "Wait, all that food, the medicine, was that you?" He didn't answer, just smiled kindly. Aaliyah's eyes filled with tears. "Why, sir? You didn't have to. I only did what anyone would have done." Mr. Harrison shook his head. "That's where you're wrong, my dear. Not everyone would have done what you did. You stopped when others didn't. You helped when the world looked away. Kindness like that deserves to be remembered." She tried to hold back her tears, but they slipped down her cheeks anyway. "Thank you, sir. You don't know how much this means to us." He nodded, his voice warm and sincere. "I know exactly how much it means." Before she could ask what he meant, his driver stepped out to open the door. "Sir, we should go. It's getting late." Mr. Harrison nodded, then looked back at Aaliyah. "I'll be in touch soon, Aaliyah. Take care of your mother." She stood there, holding her bicycle, watching the black car fade down the street. Her heart was full, confused, grateful, and strangely connected to the man she'd only just met. Inside the car, Mr. Harrison sat silently. Mark glanced at him through the mirror. "Sir, you seem emotional." Mr. Harrison looked out the window. "She reminds me of the daughter I lost, Mark. The same courage, the same heart. Maybe God brought her into my life for a reason." And as the car disappeared into the glowing city lights, both their lives quietly began to change, one act of kindness at a time. Days turned into weeks, and the mysterious friendship between a poor teenage girl and a billionaire old man began to bloom quietly. Aaliyah would often see the black car waiting across the street after school. Sometimes Mr. Harrison would step out. Sometimes he'd just wave from the window. Every visit was calm, respectful, and filled with kindness, the kind that didn't need words. One Friday afternoon, when Aaliyah got home from school, she found Mr. Harrison sitting in the small living room of their apartment, chatting softly with her mother. She froze at the door, shocked. "Mom." Clara smiled warmly. "Aaliyah, come in, sweetheart." Mr. Harrison came to visit. "I was just making tea." Mr. Harrison stood, smiling kindly. "I hope you don't mind. Your mother invited me in. She makes wonderful tea." Aaliyah blinked, still processing. "You two know each other?" Clara looked at her daughter, then at the old man. "We do now. He told me everything. How you helped him that night. I didn't know you had such courage, baby." Aaliyah smiled shyly and sat down beside her mother. The small apartment suddenly felt brighter, warmer. Mr. Harrison looked around. The faded wallpaper, the tiny kitchen, the framed photo of a younger Clara holding baby Aaliyah. He had seen countless mansions and palaces, but somehow, this small, humble space felt more real than any of them. "So," Clara said with a smile, "you're the famous Mr. William Harrison everyone reads about. The businessman who built half the city." He chuckled softly. "That was a long time ago. Now, I just enjoy good tea and kind company." They all laughed lightly, but beneath that laughter, Aaliyah noticed something strange. The way her mother looked at Mr. Harrison, not like a stranger, but like someone she'd once known. And the way Mr. Harrison's eyes softened whenever Clara spoke. After he left that evening, Aaliyah couldn't stop thinking about it. "Mom," she asked quietly, "did you know him before?" Clara hesitated. Her fingers toyed with her cup for a moment before she said, "No, sweetheart. But he reminds me of someone I used to know a long time ago." Aaliyah didn't push further, but her instincts told her there was more to the story. Over the next few weeks, Mr. Harrison began visiting more often. He would bring food, books, sometimes small gifts for Aaliyah. Nothing expensive, just thoughtful things. A used bicycle bell, a warm jacket, even a box of chocolates for her hard-working spirit. But what mattered more than the gifts was his presence. He listened to Aaliyah talk about school, her dreams of becoming a nurse, her mother's health, and how she often felt like the world didn't notice people like them. One afternoon, she told him. Sometimes I feel like the world only sees money, not hearts. He smiled gently. You're wiser than most adults I know, Aaliyah. And you're right. Money can build walls, but kindness builds bridges. She liked the way he said it. Calm, sincere, like someone who'd learned that lesson the hard way. One rainy evening, as thunder rumbled outside, Aaliyah came home early from work to find her mother sitting quietly with Mr. Harrison again. Clara's hands trembled slightly as she handed him an old photograph. I think you deserve to see this, she said softly. Aaliyah paused near the doorway, unnoticed. Mr. Harrison took the photograph carefully and froze. It was a picture of a young nurse standing in a hospital hallway. Next to her, a much younger version of him, William Harrison, smiling proudly. His throat tightened. This was decades ago, he whispered. You were the nurse at Mercy Hospital. Clara nodded slowly. I was. You probably don't remember, but you came to the hospital every week to visit your wife, back when she was sick. I was her nurse. Mr. Harrison stared at her, the memories flooding back. His late wife, Eleanor, her laughter, her final days, and that one kind nurse who never left her side. Clara, he whispered. You were the one who held her hand when she passed. I remember now. You told me to stay strong when I thought I couldn't. Tears glistened in Clara's eyes. You remembered. Aaliyah stepped closer, her heart pounding. Mom, you knew him all this time. Clara shook her head softly. No, baby. I never knew who he became. Life took us different ways. I didn't even know he was alive until that day he knocked on our door. Mr. Harrison was quiet for a long time. The sound of rain filled the silence between them. Then he looked up, eyes filled with emotion. Clara, I never thanked you. You were there for me when my world was falling apart. You comforted a man who had lost everything. And now, your daughter saved me when I was lost again. The connection between them, past and present, suddenly made perfect sense. It wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It was fate. Aaliyah sat beside them, speechless. She looked at the photo in his trembling hands and then at her mother's tearful smile. It's like life brought you back together, she whispered. Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. Maybe some debts are meant to be repaid, not with money, but with gratitude. From that day onward, he became more than just a visitor. He became family. Every Sunday, he'd come by for lunch. Sometimes, he'd help Aaliyah with her homework or sit quietly talking to Clara about the old days. The bond between them deepened with each passing week. One afternoon, as he watched Aaliyah laugh in the kitchen while helping her mother cook, Mr. Harrison felt something stir deep inside, a peace he hadn't felt in decades. For years, he had built companies, earned billions, and lost count of how many people called him sir. But none of that ever filled the emptiness in his heart. Now, in this small apartment, surrounded by warmth and laughter, he realized this was what he'd been missing all along. That night, as he returned home, he stood in his grand mansion filled with silence and thought. Money built this house, but love makes a home. He turned to his assistant and said quietly, Mark, I want to do something special for them. Something that will change their lives. Mark looked up. What do you have in mind, sir? Mr. Harrison smiled faintly, his eyes glistening with purpose. You'll see soon enough. And with that, the old man who once felt invisible began planning a gift that would reveal who he truly was, and why destiny had brought him back to the girl who had given him a ride home. The next few days felt strange, quiet, but filled with an invisible excitement. Mr. Harrison had stopped by less often, saying he had a few things to take care of. But whenever Aaliyah asked him what he was up to, he would just smile that mysterious, gentle smile and say, You'll find out soon, young lady. One afternoon, when Aaliyah came home from school, her mother was holding a thick envelope in her hands. It came for you, Clara said, handing it over. For me? Aaliyah frowned. The envelope was made of fine paper with gold edges, her name written beautifully across the front. Miss Aaliyah Jones. Inside was a formal letter on elegant stationery. Dear Aaliyah, you once guided a lost old man home on your bicycle. You didn't know who he was, and you didn't ask for anything in return. That kind of kindness deserves the world's respect, and something more. I'd like to invite you and your mother to dinner this Friday evening. A car will be sent for you at 7 p.m. Dress nicely. There's something I'd like to share. William Harrison. Aaliyah's eyes widened. Mom, he wants us to come to dinner. Clara hesitated. Dinner? At his place? Yes. Aaliyah said, almost dancing with excitement. He even said he's sending a car. Can you believe that? Clara smiled softly, but worry shadowed her eyes. I don't know, sweetheart. People like him. Their world is different from ours. Aaliyah shook her head. He's not like other rich people, Mom. You know that. Friday arrived faster than expected. That evening, a sleek black car pulled up in front of their building. A driver stepped out, opened the door, and greeted them politely. Aaliyah wore a simple light blue dress and borrowed a pearl necklace from her mother. Clara wore her best Sunday dress, old but elegant. As the car drove through the city, the streets began to change. Small stores turned into boutiques, old houses turned into mansions, and soon they entered the wealthy side of town. When the car stopped, Aaliyah's jaw dropped. Before them stood a massive estate, tall iron gates, manicured gardens, fountains lit by soft golden lights. The mansion looked like something out of a movie. This can't be where he lives, Aaliyah whispered. But it was. Mr. Harrison stood at the door, dressed in a black suit, smiling warmly as they approached. You came, he said, extending his hand. You both look wonderful. Aaliyah looked around in awe as they entered the marble-floored foyer. Chandeliers glittered above them. Paintings lined the walls. Servants moved quietly in the background. Wow, Aaliyah breathed. This place is huge. Mr. Harrison chuckled softly. It's just a house. What matters is who fills it. He led them to a dining room that could fit 20 people, but tonight, only 3 seats were set, one for each of them. The table was beautifully arranged with crystal glasses and white roses. Dinner was served. Soft music played in the background. Laughter filled the air, and for the first time, Clara seemed to relax. She and Mr. Harrison talked like old friends, reminiscing about the hospital days, while Aaliyah listened with fascination. After dessert, Mr. Harrison cleared his throat softly. His voice grew serious. There's something I've wanted to tell you both for a while. Aaliyah leaned forward. What is it? He looked at her, then at Clara. The night you found me, Aaliyah, I wasn't just lost. I was running away from something. Clara frowned slightly. Running away? He nodded slowly. I had just come from a hospital. My only son had passed away that morning. I had everything. Money, cars, companies. But that night, I had no will to go on. I just walked out, hoping someone would notice me. No one did until you. The room fell silent. Aaliyah's eyes softened. Mr. Harrison, he smiled faintly. You didn't see a billionaire. You saw a lonely old man who needed help. You gave me kindness when I had given up on the world. Clara reached out, touching his hand gently. I'm so sorry about your son. Mr. Harrison nodded, his eyes glistening. He was my only family. But when I met you too, something changed. I realized that maybe family isn't always about blood. Sometimes, it's about who reaches out when the world turns away. He stood up slowly. Which is why, starting tonight, I want to make sure you both never have to struggle again. He walked toward the side table, picked up 2 envelopes, and handed them to Aaliyah and Clara. These are not gifts, he said softly. They're a thank you. Aaliyah opened her envelope and gasped. Inside were official documents and a small golden key. I don't understand, she stammered. Mr. Harrison smiled. That key belongs to a new house, just a few blocks from here. It's yours, fully paid. And the documents are for a scholarship fund in your name, Aaliyah. It will cover your education until you finish college. Aaliyah's eyes filled with tears. No, I can't accept this. You already earned it, he said gently. You gave me something no money could buy, hope. Clara covered her mouth, tears streaming down her cheeks. Mr. Harrison, this is too much, he shook his head. No, Clara, it's not enough. You once held my wife's hand when she took her last breath. You comforted me when I was broken. Now your daughter has reminded me what kindness truly means. You both gave me back my life. This is just my way of saying thank you. Aaliyah stood and hugged him tightly. You didn't have to do all this. You already changed our lives just by caring. He smiled warmly, patting her head. And you changed mine just by stopping that bicycle. The moment was pure. No cameras, no reporters, just 3 souls bound by fate, kindness, and gratitude. Later that night, as they left the mansion, the moon shone softly over the gardens. Aaliyah looked back one last time. Mr. Harrison stood at the door, waving. She whispered, He's the kindest man I've ever met. Clara nodded. And he's proof that kindness always comes back, even when you least expect it. But what Aaliyah didn't know was that Mr. Harrison had one more surprise left, something far greater than money, something that would change her life forever. The following morning, Aaliyah woke up early, still in disbelief about the previous night. The golden key rested on her nightstand, catching the morning light like a symbol of a new beginning. She looked over at her mother, still asleep, and whispered, "We're really going to have a new house. Mom, we did it." For days, life felt like a dream. The house Mr. Harrison gifted them wasn't a mansion, but a beautiful, cozy home in a peaceful neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, a small garden, and bright windows that filled every corner with sunshine. When they moved in, Mr. Harrison came to help. He didn't send servants or assistants. He came himself, wearing a simple sweater and a smile. "I figured I'd lend a hand," he said cheerfully, carrying boxes inside. "Billionaires don't usually carry boxes," Clara teased. He chuckled. "This billionaire does." Aaliyah laughed, watching him struggle with a box of books. "Careful, Mr. Harrison, you'll hurt your back." "Ah, nonsense," he said, pretending to flex his thin arms. "Still got some strength left in me." Those moments became priceless memories. Dinners filled with laughter, movie nights, garden tea parties. It was as if they had all been waiting for this family to form. But one evening, Aaliyah noticed something different. Mr. Harrison looked tired. He smiled less, his voice softer than usual. When she asked if he was okay, he simply said, "Just feeling my age, sweetheart. Don't you worry." Yet, deep down, Aaliyah felt something was wrong. A week later, he invited them both to his mansion again. When they arrived, he was sitting in the grand living room, dressed neatly, papers spread out on the table. "I have one last thing to do," he said gently. "Something that will make me sleep peacefully at night." He handed Clara a folder. "This is my new will. I've made some changes." Clara looked alarmed. "Mr. Harrison, please," he raised a hand softly. "Let me finish. I've lived a long life, and I've seen how quickly wealth can vanish when it's given to the wrong hands. I want to make sure mine goes to the right people, people with heart." He turned to Aaliyah, eyes kind and steady. "You, young lady, are one of them." Aaliyah shook her head instantly. "No, Mr. Harrison, you've already done enough for us." He smiled. "And you've done more for me than you'll ever realize. The house, the scholarship, those were gifts. But this is legacy." He leaned forward, voice trembling slightly. "When I met you, I was lost, not just in the street, but in life. You showed me that compassion still exists, and I want the world to remember that. So, I'm naming a new charity foundation after you, the Aaliyah Hope Foundation. It will help children from poor families go to school. It'll help the forgotten, just like you helped me." Tears streamed down Aaliyah's face. "Mr. Harrison, I don't know what to say. Just promise me one thing," he said softly. "Never stop helping people. Even when you have nothing, give kindness. It's the only thing that grows when you share it." Clara couldn't hold back her tears either. "William, you have the kindest heart." He smiled faintly. "Maybe I learned from the best." He looked at her lovingly, a quiet acknowledgement of the past they once shared. That evening, they spent hours together, talking, laughing, remembering. It felt peaceful, almost too peaceful. A week later, Aaliyah got a call early in the morning. The voice on the other end was gentle but heavy. "Miss Jones, I'm sorry to inform you. Mr. Harrison passed away last night in his sleep." The world stopped. The phone slipped from her hand. Her mother rushed over, but Aaliyah couldn't speak. She just stood there, tears falling silently. At the funeral, only a handful of people attended, a few business associates, his lawyer, and Aaliyah and her mother. As they stood by his grave, the sky was gray, the air still. Aaliyah placed a small bicycle bell, the same one he had gifted her, on his casket. "You'll always have a ride with me, Mr. Harrison," she whispered through her tears. After the service, the lawyer approached them with another envelope. "Mr. Harrison wanted you to have this personally." Inside was a handwritten letter. "My dear Aaliyah, if you're reading this, I've finally gone home, not to my mansion, but to peace. Don't cry for me. You gave me more joy in my final months than money ever could. Remember what I always told you. Kindness doesn't fade. It echoes. And one day, you'll help someone who needs you, and they'll carry it forward. In this world full of noise, you were the melody that reminded me to live again. Thank you for taking an old man home." William. Aaliyah clutched the letter to her chest, tears streaming down her face. Her mother wrapped an arm around her. Mom, she whispered, he's gone. Clara nodded softly. He's gone. But look around you, baby. His kindness isn't. Months later, the Aaliyah Hope Foundation launched officially. Aaliyah, now in college thanks to the scholarship he left her, stood on stage, speaking to a crowd. Her voice trembled, but her eyes shone with pride. I once met a man everyone ignored, she said. A man who had everything, but was invisible to the world. All I did was help him, and he changed my life. Mr. Harrison taught me that real wealth isn't what you keep, it's what you give. The audience applauded, some wiping tears. Behind her, a large banner read, "In memory of William Harrison, the man who believed in kindness." After the ceremony, Aaliyah rode her bicycle back home, the same one she'd used the night she met him. She stopped by the quiet park where she'd first seen the lost old man. The sun was setting. Golden light bathed the world. She whispered softly, "I'll keep riding, Mr. Harrison. I'll keep helping people, just like you taught me." And as the wind brushed past her face, it almost felt like a whisper in return. "Keep going, Aaliyah. Keep shining." She smiled, wiped her tears, and pedaled forward, her bicycle bell ringing softly through the fading light. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness can lead to the most beautiful miracles. If this story touched your heart, remember, one small act of kindness can change someone's entire world. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story so more people remember that compassion still exists. Because sometimes, helping a stranger can lead to the most beautiful miracle. Thanks for watching, and always, always choose kindness.